Imagine a world where the technology that runs your life is no longer a compromise, where the choice between speed, security, and control isn't a trade-off, but a given. For decades, most people have seen Linux as the alternative operating system, a niche playground for enthusiasts, developers, and the curious, a system that was powerful. Yes, but intimidating. A system that was unconventional, often difficult, and too many optional. Today, that perception is no longer accurate. Linux has evolved far beyond being just an alternative. Linux is now the upgrade. To understand why, we need to step back and look at the story of computing. For a long time, the landscape was dominated by two main players. On one hand, we had Windows ubiquitous, familiar, and arguably essential for compatibility with the majority of software. On the other hand, macOS carved out a reputation for design, elegance, consistency, and a premium experience, but at a premium cost. And then there was Linux, often dismissed as the operating system for hobbyists and servers. It existed in the shadows of mainstream computing, respected in server rooms, but largely invisible on the desktops of everyday users. Linux was often described as difficult, a word that carried the weight of intimidation. The idea of using the terminal, manually installing software, configuring drivers, and troubleshooting obscure errors was enough to scare off anyone who just wanted a computer to work. Yet, in its roots, Linux was about freedom to explore, to modify, and to optimize. It was about control, something that mainstream systems rarely offered without compromise. And while it didn't appeal to everyone, it planted seeds of something much bigger. Over the past decade, those seeds have grown into a forest. Today, Linux is no longer just a hobbyist's playground. It has matured into a platform that can compete head-to-head with Windows and macOS, not just in stability and performance, but in user experience, security, and sheer versatility. Modern Linux distributions are polished, accessible, and feature-rich. Take, for example, Ubuntu, Fedora, or Linux Mint. These systems now offer graphical installers that rival Windows, intuitive software centers that eliminate the need for command line interaction, and beautiful, modern desktops that are both functional and visually appealing. The Linux of today doesn't just require users to adapt, it welcomes them. Security is one of the most compelling reasons Linux has moved from alternative to upgrade. Windows, despite its dominance, remains a primary target for malware and ransomware attacks. macOS is more secure in some respects, but its closed ecosystem limits what users can control. Linux, by contrast, benefits from a combination of open source transparency, robust permission models, and active community oversight. When a vulnerability is discovered, patches are often deployed faster than on proprietary platforms. You're not waiting on a corporation's patch scheduler or part of a community that can respond immediately. In a world where cyber threats are escalating daily, Linux provides a level of security that isn't just adequate, it's proactive. Performance is another area where Linux shines. Unlike many mainstream operating systems that require increasingly powerful hardware with every update, Linux is lean, efficient, and optimized. You can revive aging hardware with a lightweight Linux distribution, extending the life of laptops and desktops that would struggle under the weight of Windows 11 or the latest macOS. And for those with modern hardware, Linux can push the system to its limits, delivering performance that rivals or surpasses its commercial counterparts. Gaming on Linux, once seen as a non-starter, has exploded thanks to initiatives like Steam, Proton, and native Linux support for popular titles. Today, Linux users can enjoy high-end gaming without compromising on performance or flexibility. Software availability, once a weakness for Linux, is no longer a barrier. The open source ecosystem has grown exponentially, providing alternatives for virtually every mainstream application. Productivity tools, creative software, development environments, and cloud integration are all robustly supported. Office productivity, LibreOffice, and OnlyOffice rival Microsoft Office for most users' needs. Creative work. Guy and Pete Krita, Blender, and Darktable offer professional-grade tools for image editing, digital art, 3D modeling, and photo processing. Developers benefit from native support for virtually every programming language, containerization technologies like Docker, and frameworks that run seamlessly in Linux environments. And if a specific proprietary tool is needed, virtualization and compatibility layers make it possible to run those applications without leaving Linux. The rise of Linux in enterprise environments has also accelerated its reputation as an upgrade rather than an alternative. Many of the world's largest tech companies, including Google, Facebook, Amazon, and Netflix, run their infrastructure on Linux. Cloud computing, servers, and supercomputers predominantly rely on Linux because of its scalability, reliability, and customization. This isn't just about power users. It's about proving that Linux can handle mission-critical operations on a global scale. And now, those same technologies are trickling down to the desktop, giving everyday users access to enterprise-grade tools and work. Linux also empowers users in ways that proprietary systems simply can't. Customization is not just a cosmetic feature. It's about productivity and efficiency. Want your desktop to be minimal with only the tools you use? Done. Prefer a highly visual, interactive workspace. Done to room from tiling window managers that maximize every pixel of screen real estate to fully featured desktop environments like GNOME or KDE. Linux allows you to shape your computing environment around your needs, not the other way around. It's an operating system that respects your preferences and your time. The community aspect of Linux cannot be understated. Being part of the Linux ecosystem means being part of a global network of contributors, innovators, and learners. Documentation is extensive, forums are vibrant, and help is never more than a search away. Unlike proprietary systems where support is transactional and limited, Linux communities foster collaboration and learning. Users don't just consume technology, they engage with it, understand it, and often improve it. This is a fundamental shift from being a passive user to being an empowered participant in the computing experience. And then there's the philosophical dimension. Linux represents a different approach to software and technology. Open source software embodies transparency, collaboration, and shared progress. Every bug fix, every feature improvement, and every innovation is open for scrutiny, improvement, and adaptation. In an age where data privacy is increasingly under threat and corporate control over technology is scrutinized, Linux provides a way to reclaim agency over the devices and systems we depend on. Choosing Linux is not just a technical upgrade, it's an ethical and intellectual statement about how we interact with technology. Recent developments in Linux make the upgrade even more compelling. The introduction of distributions like Pop_OS, with its focus on creators and gamers, shows that Linux is not just catching up, it's innovating in ways that mainstream systems are only beginning to explore. System76 is the company behind Pop_OS, builds hardware with Linux in mind, offering seamless experiences that rival or exceed what you get from pre-installed Windows or macOS machines. Features like tiling, window management, hybrid graphics switching, and integrated workspace workflows demonstrate that Linux is designing for the future, not just replicating the past. Even the concept of software installation and management has been revolutionized with package managers, snaps, flatpaks, and app stores. Installing software has become as simpler than on Windows or macOS. Updates are centralized, security is integrated, and rollback options provide peace of mind that mainstream systems often lack. No more wrestling with individual downloads, worrying about malware-laden installers, or waiting for your system to catch up after forced updates. Linux gives control back to the user while simplifying what used to be complicated. Let's not forget the rise of Linux on the cloud and mobile devices. Android, the most widely used mobile operating system in the world, is built on a Linux kernel. Chromebooks, increasingly popular in education and productivity, also leverage Linux technologies under the hood. This proliferation reinforces the idea that Linux isn't niche, it's mainstream, powerful, and adaptable to any environment. Even for users who are not hardcore tech enthusiasts, they're already interacting with Linux daily, often without realizing it. The notion that Linux is hard to use has become increasingly outdated. User-friendly distributions now offer polished experiences, preloaded applications, and extensive hardware support. The idea that Linux is only for tech experts is a myth. Today, a first-time user can install Linux, connect to Wi-Fi, set up email, browse the web, and start working in less time than it takes to navigate some proprietary systems. And for power users, Linux continues to provide unmatched depth and flexibility, making it a platform that grows with you rather than holding you back. So why call Linux the upgrade? It's not just about technical specs, it's about empowerment, performance, security, and freedom. It's about choosing a system that doesn't lock you in, doesn't force you into subscriptions, and doesn't compromise your data or your control. It's about a system that can be both simple and sophisticated, approachable and powerful, ethical, and practical. Choosing Linux today isn't about settling for an alternative, it's about choosing the best path forward. In a world where software monopolies dictate terms and proprietary platforms limit user choice, Linux offers something rare, a computing experience that adapts to the user, not the other way around. It's about taking control of your machine, your workflow, and even your digital life. The old dichotomy of Windows versus Linux is fading, replaced by a new reality. Linux is no longer an alternative, it's the logical, forward-thinking upgrade. The transition might seem daunting, but every step is worth it. The learning curve, once steep, has been softened by modern distributions. Tutorials, community support, and intuitive interfaces make it accessible to everyone. The result is a system that is faster, more secure, and infinitely more flexible than what most people are accustomed to. Whether you're a developer, a gamer, a creative professional, or just someone who wants a reliable, secure, and empowering computing experience, Linux now offers an option that doesn't compromise. Ultimately, Linux represents a shift in mindset. It's a move from passive consumption to active engagement, from compromise to empowerment, from outdated alternatives to modern upgrades. It's a platform that respects users, rewards curiosity, and prioritizes performance, security, and freedom. It's no longer the other choice for enthusiasts. It's the choice for anyone ready to embrace a computing experience that doesn't settle for mediocrity. The time has come to recognize the truth. Linux is no longer just an alternative operating system. It has evolved, matured, and innovated to the point where it surpasses its competitors in critical areas. It is a system that scales from the smallest laptop to the largest server farm. It empowers both beginners and experts. It protects your data, enhances your productivity, and gives you control that mainstream systems can't match. In short, Linux is the upgrade. So if you've been waiting for the right moment to explore Linux, that moment is now. Whether you're migrating from Windows, curious about macOS alternatives, or just looking for a system that respects your intelligence and your choices, Linux offers a future-ready solution. Step into a world where your operating system works with you, not against you. Step into a world where security, performance, and freedom coexist. Step into a world where Linux isn't the alternative, it's the upgrade.